Hey, what's up, guys? I told you that earlier today that I will be reviewing this movie right here, the greatest rivalries between Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. Now before I actually talk about the movie, I'm going to show you the design of the movie. I think they did a pretty good job having the face-off between Shawn and Bret. Then you have over here the words. Then you have the back. Um, it shows Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart having a match with Shawn's dominating this match. Bret and Shawn in a ladder match. Um, Bret Hart having like a figure four leg lock, while him and Shawn are in a cage, and the match and the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12. And then you go over here and it shows the same thing. Yeah, so and I think I actually didn't say over here. Then the inside, it just shows pretty much all the matches that they've had. Let me see if I can get this to fit in there. And then we have the inside of the inside. The match coach, the disc 1, disc 2, disc 3 isn't in here. I have to retrieve that. Then it shows disc 1, Shawn Michaels. Oh, Shawn Michaels giving the DX chalk to the Canadian flag. In disc 2, hold on, 1 second, I gotta take it out. It shows Shawn Michaels giving Bret Hart the Sweet Chin Music. And in disc 3, it shows Bret Hart about to lock the sharpshooter on Shawn Michaels. Now, this DVD, before I actually talk about it, let me read the back to you. So it says, a hard-fought road to respect. Individually, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and Bret Hitman Hart are two of the greatest WWE superstars in history. Together, they launched an intense rivalry that spilled out of the ring and became incredibly personal, building to the infamous Montreal incident. Now, for the first time ever, these Hall of Famers sit down together and in a gripping, emotional interview that was at times tense and uncomfortable, but also refreshingly candid, the two reflect on their intertwined careers, covering the early days breaking into WWE, shattering stereotypes, their evolving relationships with each other and Mr. McMahon, feelings about the other top stars, the pressure, the backstabbing and the rumors, the aftermath of Montreal, and their emotional reconciliation. This this collection is also packed with curious in Walker's vs. Hart Foundation and Shawn vs. Bret matches, as well as both of their inductions into the WWE Hall of Fame. And this video went about 9 hours, and I think that's a good amount of time for these two. Now, I don't have my notes actually printed out, but I have them on the computer, so I have to get that up there. And I'm going to pull this up as well. If I need to move it, I will. Right now, I'm just going to put it right there. This movie, though, I'm going to say right now, is a pretty damn good movie. Like, this movie is definitely worth your time. Like, if you, like, I got this in April, 2012, and yeah, it was April, the day I got Extreme Rules 2011. And I'm going to say right now that it was an awesome DVD. This is probably, I think I like this better than the Stone Cold DVD. Because this DVD, I didn't really know about the rivalry all that well. Some of the matches I didn't even know they had. And this DVD definitely made me have knowledge about it. This DVD was just a great DVD. I'm going to recommend you right now that disc 1, you're really going to get lost if you don't watch that thing in a day, because I made that mistake. You have to watch that thing in a day, and I did not do that. So you're really going to get lost. And you have to watch disc 1 probably twice, because I did that. But this DVD is a great pickup. Disc 1, always the documentary. Disc 2 and 3, matches. And what more can you ask for in this DVD? This DVD you're gonna want to. It's like Ted. You're gonna want to watch it again, but not for the reason for Ted, because of this. You're gonna miss some things, and I made sure I didn't miss anything when I watched the documentary. The matches you don't have to watch again, but the documentary you definitely have to watch like a bunch of times. Um, and that's what to expect, right? And um, and that's probably all you have to really watch, just the documentary. But I'm gonna start my review. I have my notes on the computer here. So it shows a video package of everything that they've done in their rivalry so far. They don't tell us anything. They just show what's been going on. And then it shows like their individual careers. They actually do sit down with Jim Ross too. Like Jim Ross, I think was the perfect person to sit down with them because they both. Jim Ross is a good commentator and he's good at making people feel the way they like, making people stay in control. Now Shawn Michaels, I'm going to talk about his life a little bit. He was born a son of an Air Force officer, and at age 12 he wanted to be a WWE superstar, but it wasn't popular with his parents. And he trained with Horsey Luther, I think that's how you say his name, and he wrestled his first match at age 19, and he tagged with Marty Jannetty. And in 1985, the Rockers got the call from the WWF, and that was pretty much all they really said about him. And I think that's pretty cool that I got to find out about Shawn. It wasn't like that big thing, but it was a little in-depth look at Shawn Michaels. Um, Now I'm gonna do Bret. Bret grew up in Calgary, and he was the eighth of 12 children. So, as he's the eighth oldest, I no, he's the eighth child. I think that's what it means. And he's the father. Oh, his father was Stu Hart, and Stu Hart was the owner of Stampede Wrestling, and he wrestled his first match at 12 years old. Um, and I think that was pretty cool. Now, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels both had different paths coming in. Bret Hart kind of was surrounded by wrestling, and I think it shows that in this because Stu Hart was a owner owned Stampede Wrestling, and I think that's pretty cool. Um, and Shawn Michaels came in, and he had to. I thought it was probably harder for Shawn Michaels on the road because Bret knew people that connected. I'm not saying it was probably easy for Bret, but Shawn, as I could say, that it wasn't popular with his parents, so he probably had to convince him pretty big to get into this spot. Now, if you excuse me, I just want to grab my Pepsi, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here, and I'm going to put it right underneath this chair so I can't kick it. But anyways, as I was saying, Shawn probably didn't have it as easy as Bret. Um, Shawn Michaels had to convince his parents, and I bet it was a pretty hard thing to do, but he did. And I bet if Shawn's parents didn't approve of it, Shawn probably wouldn't be where he is today. Um, so then it talks about the tag teams. Um, and Bret Hart said that the Rockers came in as bad boys. And I can agree with that because when I watched their matches together, they did come in as bad boys. Um, and I'm gonna get to more about Shawn, but this is Bret's side. But Bret did want to work with a new fresh team because I bet Bret was getting like the tag team division. Bret said was actually wait. I want to say, but I bet he was sick. But there was a lot of good teams I guess back then. Like he said, he listed the Warlords, the Legion of Doom, Demolition, the Killer Bees. I don't really know who they are, but he did say the Killer Bees. The Hart Foundation themselves, the British Bulldogs, all those tag teams right there. They are formidable tag teams, but I bet they've worked with them a number of times, so they wanted to work with a new fresh team, and I bet they felt that the Rockers brought that freshness into the tag team division. But John did say that they were a little bad, but they were having a good time, and I bet they were happy that they did get the call. And he said that people didn't really like them, but they put up with them, and that's understandable. But I bet they were happy living life right now that they got the call from WWF at the time, and I would be happy too. like I'll be having a good time. I actually make myself have a good time in WWE 13. I have fun with it. And then I have to move this down a little bit. Um, Let me see. The Walk and Shawn also said that the Walkers wanted to work with the Hart Foundation, but what they took what they got and said that they wanted to work with them, but since he was new, he wanted to take what he got. That's exactly what he said, and I can agree with that because Vince McMahon had other things for him. Like he had different things, and he kind of took what he got. Maybe they were in squash matches, but they were in good tag team matches, and I bet they didn't want to lose what they had. And I can respect them not wanting to um, move up too fast. They wanted to just kind of take what they had, and I can agree with that. I would probably be doing the same thing if I was them. And Bret Hart also said that the tag team wrestling was different because they were teams formed years before they got to the WWF, and I kind of already got into that with the Killer Bees, the Killer Bees, all that stuff, the Killer Bees, all those tag teams I named, um, and he thought that their walkers were quick and different and wanted to get some heat by attacking the walkers. So I'm assuming they wanted that they were heels at the time, so they thought they could get some heel heat if they attacked them. Let me see. I should have typed this out. Um, and when they got people said that they weren't big enough, so they made them not want to get in the ring with them. I remember him saying this, that I guess tag teams, maybe like the Killer Bees, the Warlords, the Legion of Doom, Demolition, all those tag teams, I bet they didn't want to get in the ring because they weren't big enough. I guess the size mattered to them, and that's kind of rude. Not gonna lie. Like I know it's wrestling, but come on. Eventually, you're gonna have to get in the ring with them. It's not like it's your choice. And Shawn and the Lockers had a great thing going for them. I'm not gonna lie. The Lockers were just an awesome tag team. Watching their matches, and I understand. Like I always say, that Shawn, I've never actually said this, but Shawn's career would have been shit if he had stayed in that tag team, and I still kind of stand by that because Shawn would have been stuck in the tag team division. I don't think he would have ever moved on into a singles career. That's honestly what I think. Um, so eventually he had to get out of that tag team. Like eventually Team Hell No, Team World Scholars, who else? Is gonna have Team Cobra's gonna break. Like all these tag teams that we see now are probably gonna be breaking up eventually. Like Team Hell No, I think will break up very soon. Because Daniel Bryan could go back in the main event scene. Like tag teams break up eventually. The Hart Dynasty, I'm gonna say right now, I don't think they should have ever broken them up. I don't know why they did. Even at the time, I don't know why they did. So let me find. Okay, here we go. And they even said this, though, that small guys never made it in the business. And back then, they only assumed, Bret and Shawn both pointed this out, that they only relied on, like, the big guys, like the Hulk Hogan's, Andre the Giant's, um, Ultimate Warriors, the big guys with the muscles that did a couple moves, and then they were done. And I honestly think that at the time it was good because wrestling fans were into it. They were representing what everyone loved. Like, I'm gonna say this right now. Every time people think of wrestling, people think of Hulk Hogan, and that is a true fact. People do think of Hulk Hogan. Um, but Hulk Hogan didn't need to hold the championship maybe as many times as he did. Um, they did show a little bit of faith, but with Randy Savage, he got to hold the championship for a little bit, but he didn't get to hold it for very long. Then they kind of got stuck, I think. And Shawn and Bret feel that they were just going to be stuck in the mid-card division, which would be the Intercontinental Championship at the time. I don't know if the European Championship existed then, but that's pretty much what they were talking about, that they didn't think that they were going to be main evented. But For those of you that don't know, at WrestleMania 3, Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat had a match, and they showed that guys could hold a bet, that the small guys could hold a better match than the big guys. So people were talking about the tag match or the mid card match. This is what Bret said, and I can agree with that. I mean, they can do a lot more moves. Like you look at for example, Justin Gabriel can do a lot more moves, I think, than probably John Cena can. Tyson Kidd can do a lot more moves than Mark Henry. Like the bit, like the, I'm not. There'd probably be bad examples, but it's just true. It's the facts that the small guys can do more moves. And Randy Savage and um, what Ricky Steamboat. I actually haven't really seen. I didn't see the match, but I'm gonna take their word for it because Ricky Steamboat, when I saw him at WrestleMania 25, when it was him, Roddy Piper, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka take on Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Ricky Steamboat shined in that match. He made that match worth watching. Like I wasn't really into that match, but when I saw Ricky Steamboat, once he got in there, he tore down the house with Chris Jericho, and he can still go. And I honestly think that was a great thing. Um, so, and that showed that he can still wrestle, and I guess they did change it. And Shawn even said that people would talk that they started to have faith in them that they would put the tag match or the mid card match last, and that's I think a great idea. That actually risen the prestige of the Intercontinental Championship and gave like guys like Ricky Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, those kind of guys, that time on TV. Even Mr. Perfect. I honestly think that was a great idea. So then they kind of talked about 2 out of 3 falls match that never aired, and Brett talked about how it was a bad day at the office because one of the main moves um, that the Hart Foundation have, which is Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. One of the main moves that they have is the heart attack, and if you haven't seen it, it's when like Jim the Anvil Neidhart would pick up an opponent, like say it was, for those of you that are non-wrestling fans, Tom Brady. And this isn't gonna happen. I'm just making an example for the non-wrestling fans. Then Brett would run around the ropes and he would clothesline them. That's what the heart attack is, and you need the top rope because it bounces them and it gives that momentum. But the rope broke. I don't remember how it broke, but so they couldn't do that move, and Brett just hated it. He was just probably Brett even said that was like the worst match he ever had, and he was happy that it never aired on TV. And I guess the Rockers did win the tag team championships that night, which was a pretty good thing. So then we move on and we talk about the singles careers. And I'm going to talk about Bret Hart's first. Now at SummerSlam 1991, Bret Hart won the Intercontinental Championship from Mr. Perfect. Then Bret Hart won the King of the Ring twice, and then Bret Hart won the WWE Championship from Ric Flair. And then Shawn's career, he betrayed Marty Jannetty. Then he had Sensational Sherry as a manager. Let me just scroll down a little bit here. And then Shawn won the Intercontinental Championship from the British Bulldog. And then the first ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship was between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. And then we get back to what they were talking about. And this I actually kind of knew about Bret Hart. I kind of like he wasn't like I'm gonna explain it. Like here's what Bret Hart said. He said that he was nervous when he became a singles wrestler that he didn't have Jim the Anvil Neidhart with him because he was nervous about his promos and it because he admits that he's not like the greatest at cutting promos, and I honestly agree with that because some of his promos I look at, he even admits it that he's not the best on, like Bret Hart's not the best on promos, but he worked on it and he improved, and definitely I think he did improve. because when he was a heel, he kind of awesome promo on Vince McMahon, and it was just an absolutely perfect promo. Um, and I honestly think that that was a good idea to put Bret to give Bret some time and put him on promos um, and then to work on him. So, and he even admits that Mr. Perfect was one of his favorite guys to work with because he said that he's never had a bad match with Mr. Perfect. Like Mr. Perfect always is safe with his opponents, and he thinks that he has a perfect. And he thinks that they have perfect matches together. Um, and Bret felt that they had faith in him when they put the Intercontinental Championship on him, because they showed that they were starting to show faith in the smaller guys. And I often wrote this: smaller guys starting to believe in themselves when they put the Intercontinental Championship. Um, on Bret Hart, and but Shawn didn't feel this way because I can actually understand what Shawn's feeling because they always put the Intercontinental Championship on the smaller guys, but he wants to see them put the at the time the WWF Championship. Like he would start to like he wouldn't feel like that the smaller guys had faith until they put the WWF Championship on them, and eventually and even Bret said that they they call that he felt like the era was going from the dinosaur times to the mammal times, when said that the big guys had a good look, but not. But once in the match started, it was just the same old stuff. And when and that sounds a little complicated, but what he's talking about is Hulk Hogan comes out and he does the the ear thing. Hold on. And he does this, and he does this, and he says, take your prayers, take your vitamins, and he says, let me tell you something, brother. And Ultimate Warrior kind of comes out with the shaking, and he kind of runs down the ring. Andre the Giant kind of just walks down the ring. Um, but once the match started, it was just the same stuff: punches, kicks, the big boot by Hogan, that patented leg drop. Same thing with Ultimate Warrior. Now, when the smaller guys get in there, they do different stuff. They mix it up a little bit, and I honestly think that that is a true statement. That they do mix it up a lot. Um, I can see, and I even see that today with CM Punk as WWE champion. He changes up his movesets a lot. I also see that sometime. I also see that with. I can see that happening with Dolph Ziggler when he holds the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's what happened back then. Once, like Bret Hart, for example, like I said, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, they upped their game, and I honestly think that was an awesome thing to do. Um, so then I honestly think that's what Bret was feeling. Let me see. And then it says that Shawn would push people aside to get what he wants, but when he got the WW to the WWF, that it was about size, and when they put but when but them last, but oh, I understand what he's talking about. He like when before Shawn ever got to the WWF, it wasn't about size. It was about if you could go in the if you could if you could wrestle. But when he got to the WWF, it was about size, and he didn't think it was. He thought it was weird that they had the faith to put the guys last, but they didn't have faith to put. Let me see. But he didn't have the faith to give him like the WWF Championship, and Shawn was pissed about that. And I would be pissed. I would be pissed about that too, because if you have faith to main event them, why not just give him the WWF Championship? And I actually can agree with Shawn. Um, and even at the time, he considered Shawn one of his best friends when he came to the WWF, and he thought Shawn was going to be the next big guy, and he was the next big guy. And Shawn wanted to prove that all small guys could get in there and hold a good match and could be the next big thing, and he did that. And then it shows a mid-1990s video package. And it says that Shawn's Demons came out as a singles competitor. And I guess he's talking about like his heel turn. And then Shawn had to Shawn had to be stripped of the Intercontinental Championship because he had like a knee injury. Yeah, he had a knee injury. Remember, he had some sort of injury, but I don't remember the injury. And then he talks about the WrestleMania 10 match that Shawn and Razor Ramon, known as Scott Hall today, had at WrestleMania 10. And then it talks about the Clique, which included Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Triple H, and that's it. Then Shawn had to hand over the title after that. And then Bret, I think he's talking about the Intercontinental Championship. And then it talks about the Bret versus Shawn Iron Man match. It's still pales going into the pales, but not as pales. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. I don't remember what that means, to be honest with you. Oh wait, I remember what that means. I won't pay. It's still pals going into the pals, but not as pals. I get it. Shawn and Bret were still friends during the Iron Man match, but they weren't as good friends. And Bret Hart said that he liked Kevin Nash, but he botched the jackknife power bomb on Shawn Michaels, and that kind of started to have some tension between Bret and Shawn. And then it says that Bret won the title at Survivor Series from Nash, and he felt like he was just like when they already had it set that Shawn was gonna face Bret Hart for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 12, but Shawn just felt like when he won the title from Kevin Nash, known as Diesel at the time, that he felt like he was just carrying the belt just so Shawn could get it, and he felt like he was treated, and he felt like he should have been treated with more respect, and I honestly can agree with that. And Shawn also was gonna work with like his friends from the Clique, but Shawn and Bret didn't feel like Shawn had the right mindset to be a main eventer. And Shawn doesn't remember hating the conservation, but he said at the time when he would be confident to do that. Shawn doesn't remember, so I guess Shawn doesn't remember saying those things, but at the time, he knows Shawn would be confident enough to do that, and I honestly can't agree with that. And then Shawn said that Bret wanted to keep things the same and begin to think that he was like the dinosaurs. I don't really remember what that means, to be honest with you. Then Bret felt like he was the lead. Yeah, he was the leader of the Lock Group. He was the WWF champion, and he should have been treated with more respect, and I can see why. Then it says, let me see. Bret was going to step off TV after WrestleMania, and then when he comes back, he was going to work with Shawn again. He did mention that. He was going to step off TV, do something. Then, after Shawn won the belt, then he was going to come back and work another program with Shawn. Then, hold on, let me actually scroll down a little bit and see. But they were both nervous about if the fans would be entertained for the whole hour of the Iron Man match. Because it wasn't easy to keep fans entertained. Like, doing it for a whole hour, it really isn't easy. Like, it just isn't easy. Like, it was the first time they ever did an Iron Man match, and no one knew how it was gonna turn out. And Bret even said it was a perfect match and nothing went wrong. And Bret couldn't believe that there was 5 minutes left, and he left the match. He hold on. He left. Oh, this is why I wanted to print it out. Hold on. I gotta find what I just lost. He couldn't believe that there was 5 minutes left. And when he left the match, he respected Shawn, and Shawn called him and thanked him for the match. Shawn said that he wanted it to be sudden death, and people thought that Shawn told Bret to get out of the ring and not shake his hand, but that just happened. Bret said that Shawn did not say that, but Bret was set out to get out of the ring. But when Shawn said that it didn't come out the right way, he had to figure out what to do since Shawn was the champion. not and Bret was gone, and Owen called Bret and said that, oh, Owen called Bret, and said that people thought that Bret and Shawn really hated each other. Bret said that's awesome, and when Bret comes back, he can work another program with Shawn. So pretty much what that means is after the match was over, people thought that Shawn said to Bret to get the hell out of the win. And I think Shawn said that he said that, but he didn't come out the right way. And I can agree with that. Like, some things just don't come out the right way. I've said things that don't come out the right way before. Then, when people, after the match, Bret didn't shake Shawn's hand. And people didn't think that Bret, Bret Hart, people thought that Bret and Shawn really hated each other. And he thought that was perfect. And I actually think that it was perfect. Because I think it was perfect because then that brings that realism in, and Bret even said that. And I think that was a great idea to have him really to think that. And Shawn, it was nice of Shawn to call him and thank him for the match. That's pretty much what that means right there. Then the next thing it says Bret says that he will throw little jabs at Shawn, but still be a face and to get real heat between them and set up another match, which I don't really need to say what that means. But then he starts to get real heat, and then it shows the build between the Iron Man match and the aftermatch. What's this? Bret says he hopes he doesn't have to run over. Bret says he hopes that he doesn't have to run over Bret with his car. Fans wanted another match, but it ended up being verbal confrontations. Vince was not able to negotiate Bret's. Oh yeah, they talk about the WCW situations. How it was just epic. How it was just verbal confrontation between Shawn and Bret. And that Bret and Shawn's Survivor Series match was the last match they ever had and most infamous moment in WWF history, which you guys know what happened. Then WWE, it says that WCW was interested in Bret. In summer 1996, Bret resigned in September. And then it says that Bret said that WCW was interested in him, and he didn't want to go because he was loyal to the WWF. And that makes sense because he pretty much started his career in the WWF. Hold on one second. And I think that was a great idea. And it's pretty much where Owen Hart was. It was where Jim the Anvil Neidhart, where his family had pretty much grew up, and I think it was a good idea not for him not to go to WCW. And you're gonna but you're gonna find out what happens eventually after that. Let me just find out. Hold on. I got And I guess Shawn got injured. He had a knee injury, and he had to give up the WWF Championship. And Bret didn't buy his injury. He thought he quit on the team because he thought he quit on WWF because they were losing the war against WCW, and I honestly would have felt that way too, because before the machine, but then Shawn said, but before that they had machines, whatever the doctor said was true. Shawn believed it was over. Shawn thought his career was over. Then Bret injured his knee in a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he also mentioned that Shawn would do backflips off the turnbuckles. He did that kind of stuff too. I should mention that. I want to put this up close for a little bit so I can see, because I have to see what the next thing is. I should have typed this out. I really should have printed this out. And then he says that working for a return match at WrestleMania, but by February it got switched to Bret with Austin, and Bret felt that Shawn was looking out for himself and not for the WWF. That pretty much is self-explanatory. But I honestly think that doing Bret and Austin was still good. But I guess people wanted to see another Bret and Shawn match. But you got I can understand. Like I honestly think that it would have been good. but they couldn't really build it up. And Shawn was injured at the time, and it just wasn't gonna happen. But Shawn didn't want to work with Bret anymore and wanted Bret's pat on the back, but he didn't get that. But Bret said it was coming, and they wouldn't, and they would say stuff with such realness. And this one actually I'm going to talk about that it offended him in real life. And Bret said the pat on the back was like it was coming, and I can agree with that too, because some of the stuff was I listen I go I listen to this stuff. Um, I listen to this stuff, and Bret and Shawn really had some that realness in their promos. They really did, because I listened to it and it was like, this is just so real. You don't know if it's fake or not. And what I think should have, and I think Bret and Shawn do admit that they should have, that they didn't really. I don't even think they realized that they were saying it with such realism. Like they put like it's kind of hard to explain. Like it really isn't, but it's hard to put for me to put this into words. Like they said, like let's just say that they said it was a work, but I think Bret and Shawn didn't realize that they were really offending each other, and I think that's why they don't want to. At the same time, they want to make things real, but they don't want to make it as real as that because they don't want to have another mistake like this. But at the same time, I kind of want to see another DVD like this. But I think Bret and Shawn had so much real rivalry, it just turned into hatred in real life. And then it says if Bret didn't leave him, like if Bret didn't leave WWE, Shawn and Shawn and Bret would work great matches for 10 years. If it's not repetitive, then yeah, I can agree with that. Bret said that Shawn offended him, so they work out an agreement of what they can say to each other. I remember them saying that. I don't need to explain that much. Bret Hart saw visions of him and Shawn facing each other again to beat Shawn for the title, and Shawn chased it, and then Bret beats him, and Bret gives no, then Shawn beats Bret, and Bret gives him a pat on the back. And I honestly think that was gonna happen, but all that stuff that happened didn't get to happen. But I honestly think that it was a great idea to, like, it was a okay. I'm gonna say this, like that was gonna happen, but as you can see, like I'm gonna read this one actually. Bret said this whole DVD wouldn't happen if Bret gave him the pat on the back, but he wanted to make money. And I don't know about that, because I think it was coming. It was coming. It was just delayed and delayed. It just, I don't know. I just can't. I just don't know. Like I don't know how to put this. It gets hard to talk about this, but I think that Shawn said this, that this whole DVD, Bret or Shawn, but I don't know if they'll do like whole DVD, because then there could have still been some tension. But I honestly think that if that pat on the back hadn't happened, we wouldn't have these famous moments. Now the Montreal Screwjob, I'm gonna say, would have never. Maybe the Montreal Screwjob would have never happened. But at the same time, it was the WCW. I honestly think that maybe it would have still happened, but I wasn't really alive then. So then I'm gonna get to the next one. Shawn said that he was with Sonny, and his family asked how how about that, and Bret felt like he was crossing the line. Boy, yeah, because Bret said that I guess Shawn said that Bret was in a relationship, and his family really thought that, and Bret thought that was crossing the line, and I guess he was pissed about that. I'd be pissed too, because now his family is not giving him respect or anything. And then when Bret and Shawn had a promo with Bret on a wheelchair, he was supposed to say a great line. I think it was Shawn, but it didn't happen, and it didn't air when Shawn super kicked him. That's pretty self-explanatory right there. Bret said he would put Shawn over, and Shawn said he wouldn't, and And I think that's also why I don't think that, because Bret said that he would put Shawn over at Survivor Series, and Shawn says, no, I'm not going to put Bret over. And that's kind of just weird. So Vince said he wanted Bret to drop the belt to Shawn, but Bret didn't want that to happen. He wanted Bret to, at Survivor Series. Bret was supposed to lose the WWF Championship to Shawn, but Bret just said no, he's not going to do that. And I can't say that I can't blame him. I can't blame him, I guess. Let's see. And during the Bret Shawn Survivor Series Bret and rivalry, and this is like another thing. One of the darkest days of Bret's life was when he signed with WCW, and I honestly think that's what it was, because Bret didn't want to sign with WCW because he wanted to stay in the WWF, but I guess so many things were going on that it made him sign with WCW. And then it says that he still won't drop the belt to Shawn in Survivor Series. And Vince offered to take the heat for the Montreal Screwjob, and Shawn said that the heat would go onto him, and that honestly is true. The heat went on Shawn. The heat went on Shawn. That's exactly what happened. And then Bret was suspicious about what happened, but then again, he didn't think it would. Like he knew. I think he thought it was gonna happen, but he didn't think it was gonna happen. Then he had a talk with referee Earl Hebner and said nothing was going to happen, but Earl Hebner didn't know about it until right before the match. But I'm going to talk about this after. And then Shawn didn't think it was fun doing this stuff, and they wanted to do this, and they didn't want to do this, and Bret never thought it would happen. And they were crying when they had to talk about the Montreal Screwjob. They were crying. Bret and Shawn were both crying. I could just see the tears in their eyes. They were crying. And it's just sad. Like, Bret and Shawn were such good friends, and this whole thing kind of fucked it up. The Montreal Screwjob, I think, was just like the end of the line. And I think that Bret... it's just kind of sad to see these guys cry, but this thing was just so emotional. They don't like talk. It's hard to talk about this things. Like, there's some things I actually seen that it's hard to talk about, and that's why I don't think, like, people are like, why didn't they put Bret and Shawn Montreal Screwjob on this DVD? But you gotta look at it this way. It was hard for them just to talk about it. I don't think they want to see it. I think they did it out of respect for Shawn and Bret. That's honestly why I think that they didn't put that match on this DVD. I honestly think that's why. That's why they didn't want it, because it was just so hard for them. And I was thinking this, and I was like, wait, why isn't the Montreal Studio? But you understand once you watch this documentary. It was just so hard for them not to put it, just talk about it. I think out of respect, they didn't put it there. And it was hard for Vince too. It was just really hard. So Shawn didn't think. Alright, so Bret helped Shawn put him in the submission hold. So I guess it was. I think Shawn was supposed to put Bret in the submission hold, like, but I don't think what happened when the Montreal Screwjob was actually supposed to happen. And Shawn says that this was the lowest point in his career. Like, I honestly think it was true. And if for those of you that have WWE 13, you can relive this moment. Bret and Shawn and Triple H saying "F that." You can, when the Triple H is backstage and you see Triple H saying "F that." If Bret's gonna do business our way, whether he likes it or not. And you just see him slam the door, and it shows that. And I think that it's just so sad to see this happen. It's so sad that everything had to go down the way it did. So then it says that Bret had 278 dates and worked 310 and thought it was just devastating, and Bret couldn't even put it into works. Like, that just says it all. And then he felt betrayed by Vince and Shawn after the match, and he wasn't mad at all, but even though Shawn and Bret hated each other, Bret didn't think that they needed to humiliate him in his hometown, and they just didn't. And Bret just recently returned in his hometown, and he probably has a lot of memories about this night. like there's some nights I have memories about that's hard to talk about, and I don't want to say it on YouTube. Like there's stuff that everyone has to talk, doesn't want to get out there, and this is one of those things. Probably the hardest things in Bret and Shawn's career was this night. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels' hardest day in their lives was probably their night, not their careers, but their lives. Maybe okay, maybe a different thing, but I honestly think that well, maybe their careers because this was just awful. Shawn Michaels had to live with the fact that he screwed Bret Hart for probably his whole career, and they and it's just sad that they still uh, replay this in just angles. Then they, it's just it's bad enough that you do it. Like take away Punk was understandable because there was no other way that CM Punk was gonna get the Undertaker to tap out. But then to do it to Shawn when Shane McMahon was having a street fight with him, it's bad enough that Shawn had to live that moment. It's just bad. Like I honestly don't think you needed to humiliate Bret in his hometown. I know he was gonna take the WWF Championship to WCW, but you could have had someone go get it back for them. You just did not need to do this. I understand it's for business, but there's difference between business and personal. That personal was just out of the water. You don't need to do that. I honestly think that you did not need to humiliate Bret in his hometown. No circumstances whatsoever. People think this is a work. I honestly don't think. I don't think Bret wanted this to happen. You could tell by Shawn he was pissed that he had to do this. You could tell by the emotion that they had in this DVD right here. I honestly don't think that this was a work. This was real, 100%. So then after that, Bret and Shawn went their separate ways, and Bret hoped to find success to have success in WCW, but he didn't get the success. And I'm going to say this right now: the guys in WCW, honestly, I think the downfall was when you had Hulk Hogan join the company. You had what's his name? Hold the WCW Championship. What was it? David Arquette hold the fucking WCW Championship. It's just you're making WCW went shit after that. Bret Hart did not get used to his potential. Bret Hart had a lot of things he could have done. He had to join the NWO, and I honestly think he doesn't mind Hulk Hogan. What I think you could have done is have maybe Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan. I don't know, but you didn't. Here's the guys you should have utilized. You should have utilized Bret Hart. You should have utilized Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio. But all you guys were WCW worried about was we need was just putting the WCW Championship on Hulk Hogan. Once Hulk Hogan gone in the WCW, it was all about Hulk Hogan. That's it. It was all about Hulk Hogan, and that's what's going on right now in TNA. It was just all about Hulk Hogan. And they say he wants to go for the World Heavyweight Championship. No, he's already overshadowing that title enough. But Bret could have had a better career. And then in 1999, Owen Hart died, and I actually do know about that. It's pretty sad. Like people think that it was I honestly think it was just an accident. There's no way. Like people post on YouTube that it was on purpose, and I honestly think it breaks my heart just to say it was on purpose. That someone is that mean to do something like that. Honestly, I think it was an accident. Yeah, and I bet if Vince McMahon could go back and change that day, he would. I honestly think Vince McMahon feels bad about what happened that night. Um, and and that's probably, and I have a feeling that they can't put him in the Hall of Fame because that's where he died. He died in the WWF slash E, so he can't go into the Hall of Fame because he died there. Then Bret had to retire due to a concussion, and then in 2002, Bret Davy Boy Smith, I think that's the British Bulldog, died, and Bret suffered a stroke, which is a pretty sad time in their careers. And then this is Shawn's after. Shawn suffered a back injury in 1998 and was forced to retire, but he was able to get because he was doing like drugs, I think, at the time. So I honestly think that having Shawn get injured kind of gave him a like a sigh of relief that he could get cleaned up. I think it changed Shawn for the better. Shawn, like, who knows what would have happened if Shawn didn't get that back injury. I think Shawn would have gone down a dark path. But now, but Bret said that he um but Shawn got cleaned up, and he changed his ways. And then when he came back in 2002, which I have here, Shawn returned in 2002, which is so much better than he was when he was there before. And then it says that Bret was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. Then Shawn was inducted in 2011. And then Bret and Shawn met 12 years later after the Montreal screw job. And then it kind of comes back. So Bret says that he hated being in WCW, and they thought they had nothing for him, which I kind of said. And he didn't watch WWF because he was too angry after the Montreal. And by the way, he had his stroke by falling off his bike. And he said that living through the stroke made him realize that he was stressed out about all the stuff that had happened, like the Montreal. He was just so much under stress. So Bret got a phone, and Vince called him and gave him a pep talk, and that made Bret find himself. It made Bret feel good about himself. And he said that he didn't want his matches to be a waste in the WWE like Chris Benoit's is right now. And the Hart Dynasty also made Bret realize that Shawn felt bad about what happened in Montreal. So Bret told Tyson Kidd to give Shawn Michaels his number and to call him, but Bret didn't hear from Shawn. And I guess Bret saw WrestleMania 25 because he was proud of the match between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and it inspired him to reach out even more. And when Bret was on the plane going to the Raw where I think it was in Canada. Actually, wait, I actually can read it off here. The Raw in... It doesn't say. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, but it doesn't say where it is. But I'm assuming it was. Well, actually, no, it was somewhere. When he was flying on the plane, he got a message from Shawn. And Shawn had left him a message. And then Shawn said he wanted to come clean about Montreal, and that was a good idea. And it says that the reason that Shawn didn't call Bret Hart when Tyson Kidd gave him his number, he said he was too scared to. And honestly, I would have been scared to too if it was my friends. And then Shawn said that he wanted, and by the way, when they cut their promo on the Raw with Bret Return, which was on January 4th, 2010, it was real. Everything, like, it was just so real, and I'm going to tell you why it was real when I get there. Shawn said that he wanted Bret Hart to like him, and Bret wasn't sure whether, when they did become friends again, whether it was the right thing to do. And I have a feeling that, I think now that they are friends again, that Bret Hart will always like Shawn Michaels. Now, like, I think he realizes that it wasn't a mistake for them to forgive each other. I honestly think it was, it gave Bret some closure when, they finally made up. It gave Bret Hart some closure, and it was a good feeling. I mean, when I make up with friends, it's a good feeling. I never actually have been in a fight with friends, but when I see my friends again, I get a good feeling. Like, sometimes me and my friend Steve, he won't come on this channel, but he says, but when we lose contact, which we kind of lost contact now, I feel good when I actually get to talk to him again, like I did with Tyler, which I think you'll see on this channel in the future. Isaiah, yeah, but he's just kind of, I'm not going to say anything, but I do like Isaiah. It's just, he's a good friend to have. All those friends I have right now are pretty good. When my dad started dating Chris again, me and Adam now have the channel CM Brothers. Me and Adam made up, and who knew? And now he's a WWE fan. he was already a WWE fan when he was 5. I think he said he watched Evolution Attack Randy Orton. I doubt that because that happened in 2004 and he watched it in 2005. But he did write that. He did write an essay about me that's a little gay, but it was 5 at the time when he wrote it. But when you make up with friends, it's a good feeling. My point is, and that's what this DVD was all about. And I'm gonna get like the documentary is just definitely worth your time. It's definitely worth your time. Definitely get this DVD. If you can get it on Netflix, that's great too. This DVD is worth your time. I'm gonna talk now. For those of you that don't want to hear about the matches that they had, click off this video. You all can go to bed because it's like it's 11:56. So this video is gonna be uploaded on Thursday. This DVD. Now I'm gonna talk about the matches, and their matches absolutely awesome. But some of the matches had weird endings. I didn't really like some of the endings that they had. But their matches are definitely worth watching. Definitely a great pickup to watch. But like I said, the Montreal Screwjob match isn't in here. So if you're looking for that, you're not going to get it in this DVD. And like I said, it's understandable. But the first match we have on this DVD, and this is now disc 2, is the Rockers versus the Hart Foundation. And this happened in Madison Square Garden, November 25th, 1989. Now, when me and Adam watched this match, Adam's like, I don't want to watch a tag team match. Tag team matches are shit. But then I tell him and then when he starts watching, he's like, good job picking this match. And I was like, yeah, you gotta remember the tag team division was different back then than it is now. And he's like, I know. And it really was. Like I said before, Bret said that the tag teams were formed before they came into the WWF. Now, I bet all the tag teams weren't, but most of them I think were. And these teams had so much great chemistry. Double team moves. You had the Rockers do like a, I don't remember the match exactly because I watched it a long time ago. But the Rockers did like double kicks. They did double arm drags. They did awesome stuff right there. Just awesome moves. Then you had the British Bulldog every time come in and clothesline him when they did too many double team moves together. And I think the Hart Foundation was working as a heel in this match because they kind of acted heel in a way. Then the Hart Foundation were getting control. They did double team moves. See, tag teams as good double team moves. You still kind of see that today. You saw that tonight. You saw that on main event tonight. And you had good, but these ones were just were just better. I did like the moment where Bret Hart tried to slingshot Jim the Anvil Neidhart into Marty Jannetty, but he no, it was Shawn Michaels, but he failed. So then Marty Jannetty ends up getting the hot tag. Then what ends up happening in the match is back then I guess if you went over the time limit, like everyone should know this that's watched any kind of fight, that if you go over the time limit, the match is a draw. That's what happened in this match. They went 30 minutes, which was a good time. Entertained the whole match. So then they stopped brawling. So then Tito Santana, Hercules, and there was a third person. I think I don't remember what his name was off the top of my head though. But they come out and they break it up. So that was a good job by WWF. You really did a good job in that match. Then you get Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, and this was a wrestling challenge, and it happened on February 10th, 1990. This match wasn't great. This is probably the worst match they've ever had. And that's saying a lot because they've had so many good matches. But this match, because Shawn was with Marty and Bret was with Jim, the Anvil Neidhart. It was just kind of like they did a couple moves, and then the tag team partners got off on the apron with the double, causing a double disqualification when clearly Marty Jannetty punched Bret Hart first. I didn't like that. I honestly did not like that. That was just bullshit. I didn't like that. See, the endings are bad. But this match was just kind of there. Then we have the Rockers versus the Hart Foundation. This happened in the Tokyo Dome on March 3rd, 1991. It's in Japanese. And I thought it was hilarious because I watched Japanese stuff with Mel Macris. And like I said, I think I said it in that video, that it pissed off my dad's girlfriend, Chris. But at the same time, it's kind of hot when she flips out like that. But anyways, this match was kind of the same thing as the first tag team match they had. Except this time there was a winner. They did go outside a little bit. Like, they threw Shawn, I think it was Modi. I always forget which one, but it was Modi, I think, that got thrown into the barricade. But then Shawn ended up going for a crossbody on Bret, but he reversed it into a pin and he got it. So, good. Bret wins 1, and Shawn wins 0, and they had 2 draws. And then you get ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels in Syracuse, New York. I do not know how to say that, so don't judge me. And this happened on April 29th, 1992. And Bret, by the way, was the Intercontinental Champion, and Shawn was accompanied by Sensational Sherry. Now, I'm going to say right now that this ladder match was a pretty good ladder match. They did utilize the ladder. They did have good commentary in this match. One of the commentators, I remember saying that, I guess Sensational Sherry has a tattoo on her tits. Well, they didn't say tits, but they said breasts. And I actually absolutely laughed at that. But, anyways, as I was saying, this was a good ladder match. You see, the thing with WWE is they have them. You don't need to always have the ladder moments. They didn't have that in this match. They did wrestle a little bit in the beginning. Then they got the ladder. Sometimes they just go for the ladder right away. You don't need to do that. What ends up happening is Bret Hart goes to get the ladder. Sensational Sherry stops him, so then she kind of stalks Sensational Sherry. So Michaels tries to go up and get the Intercontinental Championship. But Bret stops him. They sprawl around. They throw each other into the ladder time and time again. Then eventually, hold on, it's my nose. Then eventually, Shawn hits, at the time, the Sweet Chin Music didn't have a name. It had like a kick. I forget what the name of the move was, but I'm just going to call it that. He hits that on him. Then eventually, Bret just tips the ladder over. Shawn falls outside the ring, and his balls hit the top rope. And then Bret Hart just gets up and climbs the ladder, grabs the Intercontinental Championship and retains. And I think that was pretty cool. And I think that's a good job. Bret's got 2 victories. Shawn has 0, 2 ties. So I think that was a pretty good ladder match right there. Then we have another Intercontinental Championship match. This time, and it's Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. Oh wait, I actually got the ladder match was in Portland, Maine on July 21st, 1992. This one was in Spruce, New York. On April 29th, 1992. I am sorry, I botched. This match was also a good match. You had sleeper holds used. You had technical wrestling. I honestly did like that. And I like that kick that Shawn Michaels utilized. I didn't like the end, though, when Shawn did the tackle and shoulder block right into the ring apron. And Bret's the champion, I should say, going into this match. Then Bret gets counted out, and Shawn thinks he's won the belt, but he didn't win the belt. And Bret Hart just attacks Shawn, hits him with the belt, puts his balls on the ropes and clotheslines him. Fucking piece of shit. Well, the match was good, but the ending was just, oh. So now we have a WWE Championship match. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series, November 25th, 1992. Bret Hart is the WWE Champion in this match, and Shawn Michaels is the Intercontinental Champion in this match. Before that, Shawn Michaels cut a promo, and he points out that Shawn can walk out with 2 championships, but if Shawn loses, he's not going to lose his Intercontinental Championship. Hold on one second. And he also says that he thinks he knows he can beat Bret Hart because he says who beat Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. He says the British Bulldog, and he says who beat him on Raw some time ago, and then he says me. So then he says that the odds are in his favor. Shawn comes out to have the match. Then Bret Hart gets interviewed, and he says that he's thankful for every day he's the WWE Champion, that he gets to celebrate with his fans, that he's been a fighting champion, taking on Papa Shanko, all these talented guys. There was another one that he fought that I know the name of. Slick, I think he said. No, not Slick. He said another one. Earthquake, Piper, he was a fighting champion. Earthquake. Then he says that he's going to defeat Shawn Michaels. Bret and Shawn have the match. They had another good match. I don't remember all the spots, but they had it. I remember it was good. I was entertained. What ends up happening is Bret Hart gets Shawn Michaels in the sharpshooter for the win. Good way to end it right there. Then you have, and I actually will mention that he kicked him. He threw him into the steps. I think he tried to hit him with a chair, but he failed. He did all that stuff. Then you have Then they have a steel cage match. It's Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels in Utica, New York, on December 1st, 1993. This is another good match. The cage was good. I like how they had teased that they're gonna get out of the cage, and Shawn actually looked pretty strong in this match. And he did that kick again. I like that when he does that sweet chin music, throws him into the cage. And then when I thought Bret was gonna get out was when he was already kind of outside the cage, just needed to put his feet on the floor, but Shawn stopped him before he could, which I thought was cool. Then eventually they're both trying to get out of the cage. Then Shawn's foot gets hung up on the cage, so that allows Bret to escape for the win. I thought that was good. Good job by WWF at the time. So now we get to disc 3. And the first match on here is Iron Man match for the WWE Championship. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, March 31st, 1996. Bret Hart, of course, is going in this match as the champion. This match was perfect. This match was perfect. This is probably now one of my favorite matches in WWE history. You just had everything. I like how the ref also explained the rules to them. Like, he had them explain the rules, that they had to fight for an hour. That was perfect. I also like how they both got the amount of time to take control. That none of them was overpowered. None of them was buried. Shawn Michaels did a shoulder breaker, which you don't see that often. When he picks him up to like a tombstone position, he puts his knee to the shoulder. He threw Bret into the steel post. Shawn Michaels did everything he could. He hit him. He tried to hit Sweet Chin Music on him, but he couldn't. Shawn Michaels really worked on the arm, did arm bars. There was arm bars. They did a bunch of submission holds, arm bars, sleeper holds. Pretty much doing anything they can to make sure that they can win the WWF Championship. Then eventually Shawn gets tossed outside the ring, lands shoulder first when he's punching Bret in the corner. Then he gets thrown back first into the steel post, thrown back first into the steel steps, and then Shawn before that happened, ends up doing a flying high cross body onto Bret. Bret does a suicide dive onto Shawn, which you don't see that often. Then Shawn starts to have a comeback out. He does his pretty much patented move that he does. Then Bret Hart ends up getting Shawn in the sharpshooter. The time runs out, but Shawn never tapped out, so they decide to have the match continue under sudden death rules. Then Bret continues to work on the back, but then Shawn hits the Sweet Chin Music, but he doesn't get all of it. Then Shawn hits it again. This time he wins the WWF Championship. And as it says, it shows Bret Hart leaving without shaking his hand. I thought that was absolutely awesome. This match was awesome. Everything was done right in this match. And you don't see that often in WWE anymore. Like, not, like, summer matches, I'd be like, oh, I changed this, I changed this. This match, wouldn't change a thing. I would not change a thing in this match. This match was perfect. I like how you didn't have a decision until the end. That was good, and it kept me entertained. I would not change a thing in this match. Not one thing. So then we get Bret Hart's induction ceremony, and I thought it was good. And the person that inducts him is Stone Cold Steve Austin. He says that he had one of the greatest matches with them at WrestleMania 13, and he says that he's not a submission wrestler, but it would end up being one of the greatest matches he's ever had. So then Bret Hart comes out. He tells some stories about Owen Hart. One of the stories I thought was really funny about him was let me think if I can think of him. When he had what was his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. I forget, it was like a wrestler, and he had him come downstairs because he like lost his luggage. He had some funny stories. Definitely check him out. I don't remember it's probably on YouTube. You can just look it up. I don't remember the stories, but he did say give a few thank yous to Vince McMahon, Mr. Perfect, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. He gave some thank yous to them, and I honestly think that was a pretty good Hall of Fame speech. Now I can get to and it happened in Chicago, Illinois on April 1st, 2006. Now we get to Bret returns to Raw on Raw January 4th, 2010. It was awesome. I honestly liked it. Bret Hart talks about how he's won the King of the Ring and Jerry the King Lawler jumped him before. And he talks about the Montreal Screwjob, how he wants to have peace and closure. So then he calls Shawn Michaels out. And Shawn Michaels says that he deserves what happened at Montreal. And you could tell this was real. Because Shawn Michaels was a little quiet at first. Shawn Michaels' his tone of the voice was different. He wasn't in the DX mood. You could just tell it was real. It was just, it doesn't seem like they would have write something like that. But he says that there's a big part of him that doesn't have. Shawn says that there's a big part of him that doesn't have any regrets of doing what he did in Montreal. But there's a little bit of things that he wants to make peace. Shawn says that he doesn't, when he thinks of Bret Hart, he doesn't think of Montreal. He thinks of WrestleMania 12 when him and Bret stole the show. He also says that Bret and he also says that he will bury the hatchet with him tonight. So then they shake hands. Then at the end they hug, and then they end up leaving. And I thought that was actually a touching moment to see. I actually did get to see it live, and seeing it again made me feel a little bit emotional. And I honestly did like seeing that. It was a good moment to see, and now that I'm talking about it, it's making me feel a little bit emotional. Not gonna lie, but talking about it gets through it, right? So then we have Shawn's Hall of Fame induction, and it happened in Atlanta, Georgia, April 12th, 2011. Shawn's was awesome. Shawn, Triple H was the one that came out. He inducted him. He says that he could talk about the Shawn, like he talks about the Shawn Michaels that had great WrestleMania matches. Great, how he had the DX one was the funny eye thing. I can't do it, but you know what I'm talking about. The back injury, the returning in the ring in one of the greatest matches Triple H ever had. But he could talking about his friend Shawn Michaels. So then Shawn ends up coming out. He says that he wanted to get the fans to like him. He makes jokes about like how he wrote a speech, but he didn't want to be entertained. That he did this for his wife and his kids. That he said that he would that if he did this in 1998, he would have some regrets. Like Shawn's was also good. You can also probably look his up on YouTube. So then at the end, so I'm not gonna cover it too much. So then at the end, you have Shawn, Kevin Nash, members of the Clique except for Scott Hall come out. and they're raising their hands, and that's how the DVD ended. So this DVD is now over. I can add this. I can add this to the list of DVDs I've watched and reviewed. This DVD I got in April, and I'm just reviewing it now in January 2013. Life's a sad, sad day. Well, it's not sad, but it's kind of like I need to start making time. But I was busy first year YouTube, wanted to get pay-per-views. You're gonna see more DVD reviews now that I've pretty much reviewed all the pay-per-views of WWE. So this DVD, I'm going to give, I'm going to rate my DVDs. So the Stone Cold, I'm going to actually get them out. Hold on one second. The Hell in a Cell might be hard to find now that I think about it. So I'm going to rate them out of a 3 out of 10. Let me just look for my Hell in a Cell DVD real quick. See if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is not on it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry guys, I should have prepared better for that part, but I just thought about doing it now. Hell in a Cell, Hell in a Cell, Hell in a Cell, Hell in a Cell. I'm gonna start with these because I did, but I'm gonna look for them in a second. Alright, so I'm gonna do the first DVD I ever reviewed, and that would be Extreme Rules 2011. Now the cover's not there anymore, so this is it though. That DVD I'm probably gonna give, let me think. I'm gonna give it a 7, an 8 out of 10 because it entertained me a lot, but there were 2 matches that were shit that I remember. So this DVD I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10. This DVD right here I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10 because this DVD was perfect. I love this DVD right here. It had its good moments. Every match was good. 10 out of 10. Then I reviewed this DVD right here. Actually, it's a little bit out of order, but No Way Out 2008 I'll do first. This DVD, is it even in there? This DVD I'm probably going to give this DVD, I'm going to say a 7 out of 10. Because the ECW Championship match wasn't that great. The career threatening match was okay. I didn't like that the WWE Championship ended on a disqualification. You had Edge versus Rey Mysterio, which was okay, but Rey ended up getting injured, so you couldn't see as good of a match. But the 2 Chambers were absolutely awesome, and Big Show getting into it with Floyd Mayweather was awesome. And then this DVD, I'm gonna give a 9 out of 10 because of the ECW Championship match. But if that match wasn't on here, this would have been a perfect 10. Then this DVD, I'm actually gonna give this DVD 8.5 out of 10. Cause some of the stuff on here, I did like most of the stuff, but some of the stuff I'm not happy that they didn't have anything from December, and I'm not happy that they didn't that it falls out of my. That's the only DVD that fell out of my hands. No, I'm just kidding. But some of the matches on here were kind of pointless to have, and they should have had some other stuff on here rather than that. So I'm gonna give that DVD an 8.5 out of 10. Now this DVD, 10 out of 10, definitely. It's emotional, and you get to see good wrestling out of it. You get to find out stuff you didn't even know. And I'm gonna do the Hell in a Cell. I can't find it right now, but I do have it somewhere. So I'm just gonna give the review. That DVD, I'm gonna give another 10 out of 10 because I love Hell in a Cell matches, and those matches were awesome. Now my next DVD review, I'm actually gonna go get it right now. Now I was gonna review. This, no, not that, this DVD, but since Elimination Chamber's coming around the corner, I'm going to review this DVD instead. It's called Satan's Prison, the Anthology of the Elimination Chamber. This is my next DVD review. This one's probably going to be uploaded on CM Brothers, because this is you're gonna find out why. Because Adam wants to do this review with me. He wants to sit down and watch this DVD, and he's gonna watch it all right. He's gonna he's gonna definitely watch this DVD. This DVD is definitely worth your time. Let me make sure I still have, yeah, I still got everything in there. This DVD, you're gonna watch it, and you're gonna enjoy. And I think we'll enjoy this DVD. Me and Adam. This is like, we'll talk about it when we get there. But I'm still feeling a little bit emotional after talking about this DVD right here. So yeah, this DVD, great pickup. I definitely recommend you go find this on Netflix, find this on YouTube. Um, Even go out and buy this DVD because this DVD is probably one of my favorite DVDs. But next to this one, these DVDs are a perfect 10 out of 10. Um, and it's true. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna click off this video now. By the way, this is gonna be a 7 out of 10. Changed my mind, 7 out of 10. But that's pretty much it, guys. Do the stuff in the description box. Maybe I'll be back later. No TNA review. I think the next time you see me, I'll be having braces because I'm going to the orthodontist. Sucks, but I'm gonna probably have braces. Hopefully, I don't have a lisp. I can't even say the word lisp. Lisp, lisp, lisp. I've never said that word, but we're gonna see what happens. But next time, I'll probably have braces. It was a real. I promise you're gonna see more DVD reviews after WrestleMania. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna say watch this movie if you have it. Watch it, please. Thank you and good evening.